The incredible thing is that Vivint now connects you to everything in your life, from doorbells, door locks, cameras, lighting, thermostats, garage doors, data storage, and a whole lot more, all from your smartphone.
vidiq.com.
Magic Links provides tools for social commerce. So anyone on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter who has a channel can use Magic Links to earn extra income for their channel.
Really super appreciate you. See some familiar faces. I see Andrew Edwards. I see Pat Flynn back there. I see my boy Jay Liebs. I see a lot of familiar faces. I see Andrew Cod from TubeBuddy, who's sponsoring this talk. So let's go ahead and just do some quick Q&A before we let more people filter in from Daryl's talk. So anybody got a question, show of hands, what have you always wanted to ask, what you want to know, go.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing awesome, like I am most mornings. Next question.
When did you see a jump to your, well, I know yesterday we listened to Gary Vee talking about your subscriber growth, but as someone who's done it and you got to a level, you can always talk about your experience. When did you see like the growth in your subscribers? Where does this start going to? I don't know what you're getting.
It was predicated not on a specific thing with my subscriber count itself. The correlation for me happened roughly around the 5,000 or 6,000 subscriber mark. But here's the thing, that is a coincidence. And for most people, it'll be at their first 10,000 subscribers, and that's still a coincidence. And do you know why it's a coincidence? It's because most people take that number as the thing that gives them permission to do the thing that they want to do and to be themselves and to stop holding back, because now they feel like they have a voice because they have an audience when they always had a voice, whether they had an audience or not. And also they feel like they have enough positive reinforcement. So in proportion to positive reinforcement, the pattern I see among YouTube creators is in proportion to their subscriber growth, that somehow feeds their confidence. But if that's not who you are and you're getting your confidence from somewhere else, people can have, that's how some people have rapid growth much earlier than that. It is entirely predicated on your confidence, on your on-camera presence, and your actual charisma. For some people, that is fed by their views, subscriber count, or getting a viral video. By other people, it's just a matter of experience. For me, it was a matter of experience, comfort level, and things in my personal day-to-day life, and getting more satisfied with what I was making, not feedback I was getting on what I'm making, but my own neuroses about feeling good about the editing, the lighting, the audio, my cadence, my speech patterns, saying less ums to have to edit out. Those things made me more confident on camera. The confidence on camera translated to more people being engaged, watching more, getting more watch time, getting all the things. So that's when that bump really started to happen. The second bump and second wave was when I got more serious about optimizing my content in terms of titles, descriptions, tags, and playlist. And TubeBuddy was instrumental in that. I had a video, my most successful video to this day has 1.1 million views, and it got the majority of that 6 months after I uploaded it. And the difference was optimizing my tags, and specifically the tool that I was using to do that was TubeBuddy. Shout out to you guys. But like legitimately going back, I found that I could revive old inventory. I'd been using TubeBuddy, but I'd been using it on my new content. Found out that I could revive old inventory that was evergreen, that was search friendly, and that I could trigger the algorithm by going back into my archive, looking at some of the things I felt were really good content that like should have performed better or would help more people. I optimized that old content. Then I also redistributed that in social media, and then that got me some of my like videos to go bigger. So nothing ever went viral for me. I never had a video pop, as Daryl would say. I never had that breakout moment in YouTube that people are looking for. My experience just was different, and my experience was just that I still have not had that moment. All right, so it looks like it's still searching for signal. Do you guys need me to do the Apple mirroring thing again, do you think?
It should just,
Okay.
All right, let me give you an official intro and we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, and I'm just going to put this in full screen mode. All right, so we can actually begin in earnest.
Begin in earnest. Where's Ernest?
I don't know.
Okay, so welcome to this session of Vid Summit 2017, where we're going to hear from Roberto Blake. Now, you've had a pre-opportunity to ask some questions. We hung out and started a minute late because Daryl finished just right on the hour up in the other room, and I wanted to give anybody that wanted to get in here a chance to get before we started. So, Roberto Blake, many of you know him, a creative entrepreneur, speaker, and YouTube certified expert. His Create Awesome Media digital agency focuses on video marketing and content strategy. A background in visual branding and advertising, his mission is to educate and motivate other creators. Who's are creators? Nobody? Oh, everybody. All right, creators. To motivate us all and grow. He's grown a community of 250,000 around this philosophy. So I asked him about something interesting about him, which I always do, and he said two things. One, he is a Sith Lord in training. His preferred lightsaber is a single blade with, of course, the red color, like the bad guys, right? Only the, well, I don't know, bad, good. I guess it depends on which side of the war you're on.
All depends on a point of view.
Yeah, your point of view. All right, and the other thing is he told me he has finally learned a way, and did it just the other day, to fall up the stairs. So I'm not sure if that's part of the presentation. It's kind of like the etiquette when going in and out of the restroom. Like, you never want to block the guy or the gal going in. You know, the person coming out needs to give the right of way. All right, so without any more noise from me, let's welcome to the stage Roberto Blake.
Thank you so much. I didn't fall up these stairs. That's a minor miracle. So you guys want to see something cool? And I hope this one works. GoPro, start recording. Boom. There we go. Now that's cool. So, hey everybody, my name is Roberto Blake, and guess what I'm going to do today? Anybody have a clue what I'm going to do today? Help you create something awesome today. See, you guys know the bit. You guys know the bit. So, today we're going to be talking about how to make more content on YouTube without burning out, aka go daily on YouTube. So, most of you guys know who I am. Like, I'm going to keep this short. We're not going to talk too much about me. We're going to talk about like the stuff you actually want to know. So I've produced, shot, and edited and marketed over 1,000 videos on YouTube alone. That's not counting the Facebook stuff, the Instagram stuff, all the other things, right? But I've also done over 1,000 live streams on all the live stream platforms when you add it all up together. So that's making a lot of content in a very short period of time, because guess what? 4 years ago. Getting a little feedback, I'm a little loud. Okay, so 4 years ago, just about nobody in this room knew who I was. Some of you probably still have no idea, but that's okay, we'll get to that. The opportunity of YouTube is tremendous. All of you know that because you're here today, and it's allowed me to grow my personal brand, grow my business, and work with some of the greatest brands in the world, including TubeBuddy, Samsung, Adobe, Dell, etc. Not Apple yet. And so, how did I manage to do that and make content for 4 years without burning out? How do you make 1,000 videos? At this point, it's closer to 1,100 or more on YouTube alone without burning out. That's what I want to get into. So the session breakdown today, we're going to talk about going daily on YouTube and whether you should or not, because I don't know that that's for everybody, but I think that it can help. We're going to talk about what I learned from that, some of the benefits and barriers. We're going to talk about specifically what you need to do, and we're going to talk about how to avoid burnout itself. But the thing is, I don't want to bury the lead here. Is there anybody right now who's feeling a little overwhelmed and exhausted with producing content? Show of hands. Far majority of you. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go right into not burning out, and then I'll get to the very, very practical stuff, the nitty-gritty of the execution of that. But let's go ahead and talk about and address your main issue here. Is anybody here a solo creator? They're doing this all by themselves? Far majority of you. Okay, me too. To this day, I still am doing all of my content, my personal branding, my social media, pretty much 98% of the time, all by myself. I rarely outsource anything. And I'm trying to change that because I know it's what's going to take me to the next level. I know it's how you go from doing maybe 1 video a day or 5 videos a week doing 10 videos a week or 2 videos a day is you can't do that without help. Everybody needs a little bit of help, and the thing is, even in what you're doing right now, you could probably stand and have just a little bit of help. So one of the things I learned when I decided that I was going to do this on a regular basis was that I couldn't just decide that I'm going to put out videos every day, that I was going to shoot them every day, that I was going to edit it that day, and that I was going to upload it and get it out and wake up the next day and start that process again. That is completely impractical, and I know a lot of creators do that, but I think that they would be better served if they found a different path, or they at least explored one. And it doesn't necessarily require them to use the dark side of the force. So, operating at peak moments of energy. How many of you are morning people? I won't hold it against you. How many of you are night owls? There we go. That's my fam. That's my jam. All right. How many of you take naps during the day? All right, a few of you. You're like me. Cool. That's the secret of my success, by the way. You heard it here first. Napping. That is the secret to success in life, period. End of story. You can all go now. But no, I operate at peak moments of energy. I know that, you know what, it takes me a little while in the morning to get going, and I changed my routine. I started working out a little bit more. I started a push-ups challenge. I bought myself a cyclist bike, and I actually ride that. I get a fresh shower. I pump myself up, and now I have adrenaline going through my veins. I have momentum because I am a slower person to get going in the morning. So I had to find a routine that worked for me, and I had to learn that if I'm going to shoot back-to-back content, if I'm going to shoot videos every single day, even if I'm not editing that day, then what I need to do is I need to put myself in a position where I have the stamina to go ahead and to shoot 5 or 6 videos in a row or whatever. Or if it's even just walking around shooting B-roll for a video that I haven't even finished fleshing out yet. I needed to do that when I have the highest moments of energy instead of doing it when I'm already exhausted, I just finished doing something big, or I've been running around all day. That's not the time to make a video just to get it out. I had to put myself in a position to operate when I'm at my best. So that was one of the most important and first things I learned. I also learned that I had to create a routine for how I create. I had to streamline my entire process. I had to say, this is how I shoot my videos. And you know what? If I'm gonna do this so regularly, I'm just gonna leave my camera equipment and my lights set up so that every day I have a habit and I have a routine for creating videos. I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do this. This is my intro, this is my outro, this is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to wear, this is where I'm gonna shoot. This is where in my office is the best place to shoot. Here are my set pieces. Here are the things that I'm gonna do. So I create a routine. I had to set realistic expectations for everything. I had to know that not every video will perform just because I want it to perform. The thing that I like doing the most may not resonate with the audience. The thing the audience likes doing, likes watching the most, may not be the thing that I want to do every single time. So I had to set realistic expectations about what I was going to create. I had to figure out how to maintain my health and stamina and balance. You know what? I think the far majority of you, how many of you feel like you're maintaining your health properly right now? Be honest with me. All right, you have at least a few of you that feel like you could. How many of you feel you could do a little better about that? Almost everybody. Okay, that's important. That's really important. I had to figure out all these things about my regular day-to-day life balance, staying hydrated, making sure I take those naps, because I figured out that's what would work for me. I figured out that that was what was going to get it done. So ultimately, it's going to find the signal again, but I had to do that. I had to also set a schedule for myself. I had to set bullet points. I had to set up a list of 3 to 5 things that I know that I can accomplish in the day. And then I had to make sure that I was doing that. You know why? If I saw more than the 3 to 5 things on a list, I was going to get overwhelmed. If I saw a to-do list of 10 or 20 things that I had to do all at once, it was going to just feel like a crucible to get through them, and I was going to procrastinate. But what I learned was that when you put 3 to 5 things in front of you, you can prioritize 1 through 5. And I learned to do the simplest thing first, so that I have a win under my belt, so I could have those small measurable wins, so that I could make little incremental progress, and so I could see it. And once I get through that 3 to 5 things, I was like, you know what? I can do another 3 to 5 things, and another, and I can see all these checks on a list, and I can feel like I accomplished something. I can feel good about that. So those are the things that I did to not burn out. Something that I've been learning to do more is I've been incorporating my friends and sometimes even my family into my creation behind the scenes. I go on trips with my friends and I'll say, you know what, take some selfies of me, or you know what, here's the camera. I'm just gonna walk around with my other camera. I'm gonna do a photo shoot. Can you capture behind the scenes so I can cut that into my thing? And basically experience more fun, because if making content every day is what you're gonna do, you have to make it an enjoyable process, because other than that, it's just work. It's just a crucible. It's just something for you to want to procrastinate on and to try to escape. And that's not what you came to YouTube to do. You didn't come to YouTube to have to run away from it like you did from whatever job you were doing in the world before that. So, that's what I want to talk about here. I want to talk about the fact that even when you're doing this content, you need to streamline it so that you're not making this a 40-hour-a-week thing, because you need to make time for positivity. You need to make time for your friends and family. You did not decide to trade one 40 or 50-hour-a-week thing for just another 40-hour or 50-a-week thing. I mean, does that make sense? Does anybody feel that way? So we're going to talk about the practicality of streamlining that progress. And again, I want to encourage you to measure all those small wins. Subscriber count, I think it's like a death trap for YouTubers, because I think they predicate their enjoyment, their happiness of doing all this stuff on their subscriber count. And the thing is, you should be looking at things that make you satisfied with what you're doing. Did I make this video a little bit better? Am I satisfied with the outcome here? Do I feel like I made a good piece of content, regardless of what anybody else says? Because you're a creator, you're a maker. Your accomplishment is not your subscribers or views that you get from a video. That is a byproduct. Your accomplishment is that you made something out of nothing. You took something from your head. You took a thought and you made a thing. And that is something that I want all of you to clap it up for yourselves for right now, because if you're doing that, you're doing something awesome. So again, make time for everything that really matters to you beyond creating your content and growing your subscribers and growing your views, and measure the small wins. Measure the win of the consistency of, you know what, I didn't think that I could put out 5 videos in a row consecutively, and I just managed to do it. I did the thing that I thought was impossible for me with my circumstances, situations. Look at that and look at progressing daily. One of my favorite YouTubers right now is John Hill, because of his amazing positivity and because of his message of progress daily. And I really think that all of us need to look at what represents daily progress for us. Now, I talked about the fact that I actually produced, edited, and marketed 3 to 4 videos, 1,000 videos in 3 to 4 years by myself. I do not recommend it without a doctor's note. I recommend that you see a psychiatrist before you sign off on that and get approval. I'm not even joking right now, because what I learned about it is that it's not for everybody. It's not necessarily the most sustainable thing in the world. And the thing is, painting myself into a corner of figuring out how to do it, I did that on purpose because I wanted to find out if this was practical. Is this practical for other creators? Is this something that you have to be a special person to do? Or is it something that if you figure out a process, that you can do it? And also, is it worth it in the first place? Has anybody considered the fact of, does anyone here think that daily videos may not be worth it? All right, great, and appreciate the honesty. It may or may not be, depending on what you expect to get out of it. Can those of you who raised your hands who said you may not think it's worth it, can you raise your hands again? This gentleman in the blue shirt, why do you think that it may not be worth it to do daily videos? All right, so your thing is, it's a matter of balancing the time. That if you do daily videos, it will come at the expense of something else that you want to spend time on. That's a reasonable concern. Let's see those hands again. All right? Rob.
Yeah, so I did do this. I did something called Media Days back in 2006.
Uh-huh.
Right, my early 20s, and it burnt me out. I was burnt toast at the end of the day, and psychologically, I just couldn't handle it.
What do you think burnt you out about going daily when you did it?
It's exhausting putting your face on camera. You're smiling, you're doing everything. It's just exhausting.
It was exhausting because you weren't always in a good mood, but yet you had to be on camera, right? So you had to perform. Yep. The idea of having to perform and trot yourself out in front of the camera every day, that became a crucible, right? Okay, those are all valid concerns and valid points. Yes?
My biggest concern is quality.
If
I'm focusing on all the quantity, will my quality go down?
We're gonna get to that, but I'm gonna tease it a little bit.
Okay.
I'm gonna tease it. What if I told you there's no empirical evidence that has to be the case?
That excites me, because I would love to take advantage of these benefits.
It's gonna be a really interesting mind hack for you. Yes?
Time to amplify it. If I'm spending all this time to make content, how do I get it out to people?
Oh, we're gonna get to that. See, those two things are fun for me. That's fun. But let's really quickly run through some of the benefits. And you can see it here on the screen, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you what the benefits were from my quote unquote experiment of doing this for 2.5 years straight, and now I'm semi-daily now, and I'll get to that. But the benefits to me were this. It wasn't going to, it did end up ultimately helping my views and subscribers, and it did ultimately trigger the algorithm in some very interesting ways for me. But more importantly, by painting myself into the corner of, oh, I'm gonna commit and I'm gonna do daily, I then was forced to figure out a process for making that efficient because I was not going to spend 50 hours a week on this. It wasn't gonna happen. I was gonna figure out a way to do it in the least amount of time possible without sacrificing the threshold of acceptable quality. Pay attention to that phrase, the threshold of acceptable quality. So what I learned about it was I accelerated getting confident on camera by going daily because I was awkward as hell. I was stiff. I was like, my on-camera presence and charisma was non-existent. It was bad. Go watch the old videos. Prove me wrong. Whatever you think you're making that's bad, mine was 10 times worse, 10 times cringier. I guarantee it. You have the Roberto Blake guarantee on that. It was horrible. Okay? That being said, my editing wasn't that bad. I was always dissatisfied with it though, and to this day I probably still am dissatisfied with it because that's my neuroses. That being said, doing daily content meant that I was getting faster and more efficient at my editing workflow. It was making me see what the problems in what I was doing were faster, and then making me anxious enough to get over them faster and break through those barriers. And it's like, you know what? Having listened to those last 5 videos, I don't like the audio. Time to upgrade, buy the mic, or do this tutorial and learn how to process this better. Oh, they're telling me I'm getting more feedback faster. It's like, okay, I'm not mixing these music well enough and everything like that. It's overpowering my voice. I need to use monitor headphones. I learned what I was doing wrong so much faster by just doing more, and that really helped. I also got more feedback. I also got more on-camera confidence and presence by repetition and by this habit. But again, doing it and saying, okay, shoot, edit, upload every day, that was not gonna get it done. And then I thought to myself, how the heck do soap operas get content out every day? How do television shows get content every day? Oh wait, they do production days and then it's edited and then it's all scheduled, and like, why can't YouTubers do that? Oh wait, we can. So what I started doing was I was like, all right, what am I going to make content about? What am I going to actually do here? What am I thinking about doing? So, it would be helpful if I had a schedule. So I scheduled out my stuff and I figured all these things out. And I found a way to streamline my process. I figured out what I was gonna make, how long it needed to be. I found my flow and I found my format. And it would have taken me years if I had just decided, oh, I'm just gonna do this once or twice a week like I had been doing the first year or so that I was on YouTube. First year or so on YouTube, I was doing that probably the first 6 months, to be honest. I then started to go to batching content and saying, oh wow, I'm doing 3 videos a week. I can get all 3 of my videos done in a whole day. And then I got so fast at that I was like, it's taking me half a day to get through 3 videos between shooting and editing and uploading. What else can I do to optimize this? And so by just doing it more, I got more efficient, I got more streamlined, and it worked. Because why? Consistency is magic. How many times have you heard consistency is the secret to success? Anybody? Show of hands? Everybody here? It's the truth. Consistency is magic. Consistency, anything you do consistently. If you look at athletes, if you look at people in business and entrepreneurship, consistency matters. It stacks. All that progress, all that effort, all that efficiency, everything you learn just gets better. So again, I learned the power of prioritizing. I learned about myself. I learned about my habits. I was like, you know what? I have to make sure that I have water on hand whenever I'm filming, because these lights are bright and I'm getting sweaty and like, you know, my mouth is going dry. I had to figure that out. I had to figure out my pacing. I figured out my tonality. I figured out what worked for me. I optimized for efficiency. And then because I had so much content, I had to then get efficient at the distribution and at the marketing and figure out, okay, I have all this content. I'm getting this stuff out daily. What is my daily flow for then getting the most attention or the most traffic to it, and how can I concentrate that traffic? Because the other thing is I learned about the algorithm. I learned about that first 24 hours. And I learned that the cycle is that if I could put something out every 24 hours, and if YouTube is also promoting in that 24 hours, and then I can, if I keep putting in the work and I put my own system in place, then every day is a reset for me. Every day I get to show up and try again. If that one didn't hit, I get to do another thing that lands, and I get to do that. And I get to cycle through that process. And it was phenomenal for the growth of my channel, because it meant when I was talking about something, I was the person showing up every day. I was the thing that was consistent. I was the thing that was familiar. So even if someone had more subscribers, the thing is I was more present than them. And I was smaller, so I had the time to engage with every comment. So me being present, me being active, me being more focused than anybody else doing what I was doing made a huge difference, and that's what I learned. I also learned that daily didn't mean daily, because if I was producing and shooting and editing, and I was doing it and I put myself ahead by a week or a few days, then it meant that setting up the systems to automate and promote that and to be in real time there as well for my audience, that I could do all of those things because I wasn't competing with shooting and editing when I needed days to focus on doing everything else, like engaging or promoting or doing anything else, or doing business development and getting brand deals. I wasn't competing for the time of shooting and editing because I could allocate 1 or 2 days out of the week just to shooting. I could allocate 1 or 2 days of the week just to editing, and I could have that cover the week or the next couple of weeks, and I would have this big gap before I would even need to shoot again if I didn't want to. But I was always shooting at least something every day, even if it was just B-roll. So I learned that time was not my enemy, it was my asset. I just had to get efficient. For everyone who says, oh, I don't have the time, it's not a matter of your time, it's a matter of your system and your priorities and how you are utilizing that time. Just having more time doesn't mean anything. The hour that somebody else is spending on something could be equivalent to your 15 minutes of effort, or their hour, it might take you 4 to do that if you don't have the skills or if it doesn't play to your strengths. So you have to actually be self-aware enough to realize that time isn't your enemy. A lack of priority is your enemy. So we talked about some of the barriers to daily, and this looks very familiar. A lot of you said you don't have enough time. A lot of you said you're solo creators. A lot of you said you're worried about quality over quantity. Some of you, anybody here struggling with coming up with ideas? Is that your big barrier? Just a few people. Okay, we'll get to that. And then some people say the production of their videos is too complex. Is there anyone who feels that that's the case? All right, what kind of videos do you make?
I do DIY tutorials.
You do DIY tutorials. At the end of the session, I have a personal hack that I'm going to give you for streamlining the process of DIY tutorials, and the fact that you may have not considered that there is another type of content that fits your audience that has a simpler format that you may not have considered. So that's going to help you. And finally, is there anyone who's concerned that if they do daily or if they double the amount of content they're doing, that their subscribers will be turned off by that? Is anybody concerned about that at all? Few people? Used to be? One of the things I'll tell you about that one is if people already like you and there's a demand, let me ask you something. Do you happen to be married?
No.
You married?
Basically. But yeah.
Basically? All right, so you're in a committed relationship. You're in a committed relationship. Do you think that the person you're with is sick and tired of seeing you every day? You'd like to say no. See, there you go. If people like you, they like you showing up every day. If people like you, they like you showing up every day. And the person who shows up every day wins. Just ask Steve Urkel. It took 20 years, but hey, he's the guy who stuck around, so he won, right? So for those of you worried about quality over quantity, let me tell you something. Quality video comes down to the quality of the experience the video creates. Quality video is not always your production values. Even if my production values were good, it wouldn't help me at all to have beautiful drone footage and to have a $5,000 camera if my on-camera presence is trash. If I am not approachable, accessible, likable, if I'm always frowning, if I'm always yelling, unless that's the bit, then it wouldn't work. If I am fumbling through my words or I'm dragging on too long, those things are dissatisfying. So those high production values, they're not gonna cut it if the experience of interacting with me is just bad. And on the other end of that, if you have a tremendous presence, it may not always compensate for the fact that your audio sucks. Because I just can't take that in my ears, click away, I don't care. It's like, do better. Can't take it. So those things all matter, and that's why there are 2 types of quality on YouTube. You probably only thought there was 1. There is in fact 2. Objective quality. That is the technical quality of your video. That's all the production editing. That is your video quality, that is the audio quality, and that is the way that it is edited and the way that it ultimately all comes together. That is the technical, objective quality. And you know what? I see a lot of you taking pictures of that, and that's totally fine. You know what? I'm going to try and make some infographic about that for you guys. Then you have subjective quality. Subjective quality is about how you make people feel. It's subjective. I can have the best technical production values, all the beautiful 4K drone footage. I could literally copy Casey Neistat to my heart's content. And it wouldn't matter if I can't make you feel something. It has to be interesting to you. It has to be relevant to your concerns and what you are like dealing with, and it has to be engaging. It has to make you, it has to resonate with you. It has to make you do something. It has to make you decide to like, click, subscribe, comment, watch another video, share it with a friend. That is how things grow and how things scale. If something is not interesting to you, you won't click on it in the first place. If you click on it and it's not relevant to you, you click away. You end the session, you end the watch time. As Daryl will tell you, you kill me in the algorithm. And if it is not engaging enough with you to decide to opt in to subscribe or to buy something from me or to share it with a friend, then I'm not going to really grow that much. It will be incremental. So to, again, accomplish quality for the viewer subjectively, it has to meet all of those requirements at some level. And so, again, you can overproduce and take all the time you want and throw 40 hours of editing a single video, and if it fails to accomplish that, it probably wasted your time. It probably wasted your time because what it did was it wasted the viewer's time. They weren't interested, it wasn't relevant to them, and they're not going to engage. And if that's the case, then you might as well have just made the video for yourself. Moving on to something more lighthearted, how to go daily. So, again, what I did was I went to batch recording. I would sit down and I was like, okay, I've already come up with 5 ideas on, let's say, like how to grow a YouTube channel. All right, so I wrote down those 5 ideas. I know what I'm gonna say. I know this information. I'm gonna sit down in front of my camera and I'm gonna batch record. And I would sit there and I would run through my ideas and I'd go ahead and I gave myself a process for that. It's like, okay, that's video number 1. Now let's do video number 2. Hit record again, video number 2, video number 3. 5 videos, meaning that in my case, because I scheduled YouTube how-to tips for Fridays on my channel, by sitting there for 1 hour, shooting 6-minute videos, which would take me 8 minutes to get through, and then I cut it down to 6, that means that 1 hour produced 1 month of content on that topic, because I shot 5 videos in a row for my Friday videos. All right. I just bought all this gear and all these cameras and all these gadgets. Time to do my product reviews. Great. I'm gonna sit here and I'm going to film all the B-roll and do all of that back to back for 30 minutes because that's what that took. Okay, fine. Now I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna do the talking head portion of this, and now I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna record the stuff where I'm holding up the different products. And now I have all the footage I need, so that maybe takes 2 hours. But I now have produced all the footage in that 2-hour period that I need for Tech Tuesday. And so you see how I take just a few hours and on the production part of that, because again, video is what? You shoot and produce your content. You also do all the planning and all of those things. You edit your content, you upload it, you optimize it. If you go ahead and if your thing was that you wanted to, even if you don't want to go daily, let's say you want to go weekly, 1 day can produce the entire month of weekly content. It's absolutely possible to streamline to that for your production days. And then when you want to sit down and edit this, well, my editing process is really straightforward and simple. It used to be that I wasn't being fancy and I could edit a video in 15 to 20 minutes. Now, maybe it's 45 minutes to an hour because again, I'm being a little bit fancy. But it meant that if I'm going to sit down and I'm going to spend a day on editing, and if it's going to take me anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour to edit a video, if I allocate 4 hours for editing today, well, how many videos is that? That could be my whole week's worth of content. And so between producing a week's worth of content in a day and editing a week's worth of content in a day, and again, I'm using the word day loosely because again, I told you how many hours that is. I technically can make this all 1 day. I can knock out a whole week in 1 day. I can translate a week of YouTube content to 1 day of production and editing. And that's it. Because I streamlined the process. I streamlined the process, and part of that was the habits of doing it daily, and it didn't happen overnight. I got fast and efficient at doing something, and I scaled it. And then I found a practical way of just doing that workflow back to back. So when I got to that point, doing daily content became relatively easy and straightforward because I was always ahead. I was never anxious. But part of that was I knew what content I wanted to do on what days of the week. I had a plan, and I said, okay, here's an idea bank. If I don't have a content calendar specifically, I have an idea bank. I have all these ideas. I'll film the ideas in this subject or this category, and then when I want to release them, I'll just release them. So I shot the stuff knowing that I might release this 2 weeks from now. I wasn't doing it day to day in the moment. I was thinking ahead because I was thinking about what my audience wanted. Generating those content ideas, the easiest thing was I got to go to a comment section of my videos. I got to go to the comment section of my videos and make the videos that my audience had a demand for. And when YouTube introduced the polls feature, I started using the polls in every video to gauge what my audience was most interested in so that I could set a priority for filming and releasing and editing content that they would respond to, and that really helped me a lot. Unlike this MacBook Pro, and so again, it's a good thing that I know my material cold, because what I can tell you about that process while waiting for it to find that, and this is the other thing that helped me, is I knew what content I wanted to make. I knew my content cold. I knew that if I wanted to talk about 5 or 10 ways you can make passive income online, cool, because I've already done it. So it made my video making process simple. In pre-production, I could go ahead and plan and map everything out. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what products I wanted to review. I knew what content, I knew what my audience was, and I was able to go ahead and make a plan accordingly. When it came to production, I know what I wanted this to look like. I figured it out. I decided that, okay, for these videos, for tech videos, I'm in front of my desk. For these other videos, I'm in front of my bookcase. For these videos, I'm gonna do this. For my product reviews, I'm gonna go ahead and do it on my product desk. Blah, 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 blah. I figured it out. And then for my post-production, for my editing, I was like, okay, when I shoot in this room or when I shoot in front of these lights, this is what the color grading is. Why do it every time? I made a shortcut. I made a preset for my color grading. Oh, this is what I want my lower third to be. I just made it and put it in every video, and I made it to where I could just copy, paste, click, copy, paste, click. The same thing for my end card frames. I templated everything. I eventually got to a point to where even with my YouTube thumbnails, I got to a point to where it's like, I made a process and a system and a template for making these thumbnails, but making them unique to the type of content I was gonna do. These ones have this color border, these ones have this color border, this one has these caricatures, these ones have these assets. And that's how I did the process. I made a process for everything that I was gonna create so that I could just shave off 5 or 10 or 20 minutes because it would all add up. And that's what allowed me to go daily. That's what allowed it to not be a chore, is because I had a system and I had a process. I made it simple. And I also had to find a way to make it fun. And part of that was just doing content that I was interested in. And it was that straightforward. So again, you create a process for everything. For me, it was that I know I shot this stuff. I know that I have to sit in front of the camera and I have to go through these 3 videos, these 5 videos, these 5 topics. Oh, okay. If I'm doing this, maybe I have to change these t-shirts in between shots or whatever. And again, that might not be practical for everybody's situation. I know that some of you have different situations. Some of you have, okay, my place has kids in it or whatever, and people are always making noise. I can't always film for an hour straight. So you just have to then figure out, well, is that in this case the best place to film? And do I have times where everyone's gone? And should I just prioritize that being the time to film when it's the most quiet? And do I know what that looks like every day? So again, I figured out a process. And for me, this was what that process more or less looked like. Anytime that I'd already shot my main A-roll footage, and I had a week where, okay, all the main content for the channel is shot for the week. You know what? I'll still shoot other things anyway, whether that's more content to just get ahead, or I'll shoot things that could be interesting B-roll so that when it comes time to edit it in, I shot this intentionally. It's not a second thought. And it's like, yep, grab that clip, drop it in. Now my video looks slightly more fancy and it's not just another talking head. I figured these things out. I was like, oh, take photography of these things so that I can reference them. Take panning shots of these things so that when I say something I could show and tell. Just have it for later. I may not be planning to do it for a video this week. It could be a video that I plan to do a month from now, but I have this footage in place and I always can revisit it. So again, I just created those processes. But once I had the videos uploaded, that's not the end of it. We all know that once you make a video, that, okay, that's half the battle. The other half of the battle is, of course, I've uploaded to YouTube. I have to position this video to win. I spent a lot of time when I was a web designer learning about SEO. When I came to YouTube, SEO and ranking in Google was one of my overwhelming advantages. The other one being the fact that I had a previous experience in video editing, and that because of my background in photography and graphic design, I knew how to make great visuals when it came to thumbnails. If I didn't have those skills, it would have been a lot harder. And even with those skills, my instincts were good, but they weren't always perfect. TubeBuddy made a big difference there because I was able to streamline the process of keyword research, and I also was able to just get more efficiency out of my tagging. I had some bulk options editing features because I do a lot of affiliate marketing as part of my revenue on YouTube. if I wanted to put an affiliate link on all of my videos because, you know what, all of these videos are getting some traffic, then guess what? I could bulk edit, find, replace a link, and I could put this link to sell either my own product or an affiliate product in all of my videos at once, instead of manually doing that. Finding tools that streamline your process is just as important as anything else. Is anyone here a Premiere Pro user? Anyone here a Final Cut user? You use that tool because it's the one that you feel that you're fastest with, right? Use that tool because it affects your process. Whatever tool you use, whether it's whatever video editor, whatever optimization tools, whatever thumb making tools you use, it has to deliver on this specific value. It has to deliver on the specific value of saving you time. It has to be efficient. Do not use a tool for its name brand. Do not use a tool because somebody just said to use this tool. If you don't believe 100% that this thing can help you be faster, more efficient, more productive, it's not worth the time and effort, right? The reason that I don't use Final Cut Pro is because I knew that what I wanted to do was I eventually wanted to outsource some of my editing. I also knew I wanted to do collaborations with people. And the Adobe Premiere Pro users in the house know that with the Adobe Premiere files, that is extremely practical and extremely helpful. So one of the reasons I decided to use TubeBuddy, and I use so many tools for everything in my workflow, is because of some of those bulk editing features. I could bulk edit end cards. Daryl talked about end cards in his presentation and how valuable those are for you guys, right? And about using end cards and hacking that with playlist and other things. The ability to edit all of my end cards to be able to push traffic to my latest video, that's a huge asset. And so those are just some of the features that this tool has. And if you go to tubebuddy.com/awesome and use code Roberto'sBuddy, you'll get 20% off. So that's there for you guys. And again, TubeBuddy is sponsoring today's session, so give them a round of applause. But again, the keyword research part goes into what I'm going to talk about building a content bank. One of the things that I did that let me be fast was, would you believe me right now, like, let me get some interesting guesses. This is gonna be fun. And the person who gets closest, I'll give you like a 30-minute one-on-one Skype call with me. The person who gets the closest to guessing this. Anybody here who's already one of my homies, don't bother participating in this one. So I want some people to guess at how many pieces of content on a list that you think I have for videos that I can shoot. Like right now, in my pocket, in my iPhone, if I have a list of video ideas, what's the number you think that number of ideas is? 500. You say 500. 30. 30. 1500. 450. 250. 1,000. 2,000. 2,000. 50. 300. 210. 1,200. 1,300. What's that? Okay.
1974.
1974. 2000.
501.
501.
Come on.
10.
150.
150.
Yeah.
77. 10,000. 3,000. And back? 10.
365.
365.
5.
5. Who said 1,300? You were the closest. It's about 1,200. Oh wait, you said 1,200? You said exactly 1,200? All right, I'll just do both of you then. See me at the end of this session. Yeah, over 1,200. And part of that was because I made my content bank predicated on what playlist am I going to make on topics, and then I would fill out those playlists with 10 to 20 ideas because not every idea would be viable. And that was also easier because, again, I went to the comment section of my YouTube channel, I did my keyword research with TubeBuddy and all the other tools at my disposal. I used the Google AdWords keyword planner. I used everything you can think of. I use at some point in one of these presentations, I'm going to have to do 20 tools. No, I'll do it as a video. 20 tools you need to use for your YouTube channal. Does anybody want to see 20 tools you need to use for your YouTube? All right, so see what I just did in real time? That's another idea. So now up 1,201, there. So it's that simple. It's that simple. So again, I built a content bank, and one of the things I use to organize my YouTube channel, one of those 20 tools is Trello. who's not sponsoring this talk. Like, no, Trello is something I use because it just lets me organize those things in the same way that I would sit there and like make a YouTube playlist, like if I was throwing videos into it, right? So again, I organized that based on my content bank. The other thing I did was go to my YouTube analytics and I saw what videos perform the best. And I was like, okay, how many other things relate to that video? What recommended videos were pushing traffic to those videos that performed? Are any of those good ideas? Do I have a take on that? So again, that's how I built a content bank. Those things let me address the, oh, I don't have ideas, I addressed what you guys are like concerned with quality versus quantity. Because here's the thing, quality versus quantity, if your technical setup, your camera, your lighting, all of those things are the same every single time, the technical quality cannot be less just by you producing more because it's the same camera, the same lights, the same editing software, the same things, right? So then it's a matter of, is the subjective quality diminished by you doing more? Is this still interesting content for your audience? More of it doesn't diminish the value. Is this still relevant to people? Then the value is not diminished. And then are you being engaging? That's where the variable is with the quantity versus quality thing, is do you have the stamina to deliver your best on-camera performance if you're on camera? Or if you're putting the time into doing more of these, are you doing better research? Are you doing those things? And you know what? Some of those things are scalable. If it's an issue of research, guess what? You can actually crowdsource your community to help you with your research. How many of you watch Philip DeFranco? How many of you have ever either tweeted an idea or went to the subreddit and put out an idea for a story? Great. If you have done that, then you are a part of crowdsourcing Philip DeFranco's prioritization of what topics to cover today and what to research. So congratulations, you were part of the process of the content that you enjoy the most. And all of your viewers would probably like to be involved in some way in that process because they like the content you do and maybe they want to influence it a little bit. And maybe that can help you. And when it comes time to hire and to outsource, you can reach out to people in your community because they already know your brand. They're probably the best people to help you. So you can do this. And you know what I also learned? Working with the right gear, looking at you, Apple, like great battery life, other problems. Save it for the video, save it for the video, save it for the video. All right, but working with the right gear can streamline your process. Upgrading my gear incrementally as revenue started to come in was a huge thing. I still prioritize infrastructure investment because I can literally buy speed. I can literally buy speed. If I don't have to think about it and I know that this thing is going to get it right and it's gonna shave the time out, I'd rather throw money at it. I would rather throw money at something that gives me speed than anything else. And so that's why I invest a lot in my tools, in my hardware. And it's not to be fancy or not to do anything, it's just because I want the speed, because then if I make the speed a priority, that means I can produce more quantity and I can do it at not the expense of quality because I'm making this a priority. I'm streamlining everything to get things out of my way. And that's one of the most important things. And again, I would also tell you, don't be overwhelmed. Again, ideas can come from anywhere. If you're struggling with ideas, go to your audience. They will tell you what they want, and then you're not worried about making something just for it to flop because you're doing what's in demand and you're listening, and they will appreciate and they will respect that. You can even lead with, hey, this video idea was submitted from blah, blah, blah. And then that's a way to like really encourage the crowdsourcing. And again, don't always worry about being fancy. You know what? Like, I'm gonna go back to that real quick. Don't worry about being fancy. Try to keep things as simple and streamlined as possible because again, I really believe this, and Gary Vaynerchuk brought this up. There are too many of you, and I love Casey, there are too many of you trying to be Casey Neistat. I'm glad he made everyone step up their production values, but guess what? Maybe dial it back a little bit because you're not necessarily out there to be a filmmaker, and that's probably not what people are coming to you for. You know what people are coming to you for? It's not your production, it's not your editing. What they're coming to you for is the fact that they get you and you get them. You relate to them, you make them happy, you're their person who educates them, you're the person who entertains them, you're the person who aspires them to be better. That's what they came to you for. They chose you. It's called YouTube, not CaseyTube. He would tell you that himself. He tells you just pull out your phone and just do it. You don't need all this fancy stuff. You don't need 2 GoPros. You don't need a fancy camera. You can take this and you can make a quality video, because I've done it. I just put out a video the other day that just like overwhelmingly did better than anything that I've produced on a $2,000 camera in the time that I put it out for what it was. And my audience loved it. And the thing is, it really encouraged a lot of people to say, wow, that was such a good video, and it was like shot on your phone, and it looked fine. It looked great, actually. I would have thought you were on a fancy camera. I would have thought you were on one of the point and shoots or the DSLRs. And the thing is, they just loved the message. They just loved the content. That content matters. Your content matters. Don't overthink it. Don't get overwhelmed. That's how you can go daily and not burn out. Hit me up if you want to.
So thank you. An interesting thing, there was no 11 o'clock session scheduled here. There's no 11 o'clock session scheduled in upstairs. And I just looked on the main room, and there is big black tape over the top of the 11 o'clock session, which I think means it isn't happening. I don't know what it was because it's got black tape on it. And I can't remember. So I don't have anywhere for you to go right now, and this is supposed to end. But I'm going to ask Roberto if he's good for some Q&A. If you want to stay, let's roll.
Yeah, let's do it. Q&A. Q&A, because I know you have to have questions after that.
When you're using TubeBuddy to choose your SEO is probably one of my weaknesses, I would say. But are you using more, when you're throwing it in, are you using more phrases, or are you using...
I'm using phrases. My holdover from my web design days is that don't use single keywords and general keywords if you can avoid it. And again, use all the tools at your disposal. I'm going to give you a preview on this like 20 tools video a little bit. Yeah. Guess what I do? I use TubeBuddy, I use Google AdWords Keyword Planner, I use Google Search, I use the actual YouTube search bar, I use vidIQ, I use Vidooly, I use Tubular Labs, I use Twitter trending topics, I use a Facebook group just to see what people are talking about. I type that phrase into a search box, I put it into all these tools, and I see what comes back, and I literally manually write things down, and then I think about it. And then I think about, would a human being type this into a search box, and what would they expect to happen if they did? And that's how I make content. And that's how I figure out a thumbnail, and that's how I figure out everything. Is I just walk backwards from a human being has a question, or a desire, or a want, or a need, and I just work backwards from that. And that's not going to be one word. It's not going to be shoes. It's going to be white Nike Air Force Ones. How to clean white Nike Air Force Ones. How to not crease Nike Air Force Ones. It's going to be specific. It's not going to be wine. It's going to be white Zinfandel. It's going to be, you know, what goes better with fish. It's going to be how to pair wine. It's going to be those things. It's going to be best wines of 2017. It's going to be how do I get to wine library. It's going to be that.
But when you find those keywords you're talking about, I mean, those are obviously the ones with the most competition. Do you always try to
Not necessarily. All the most of the tools that you can use will tell you the ratio, especially TubeBuddy, the ratio of search volume to competition. And if you type in variations of that phrase, the thing that you're thinking of might have high competition, but simply phrasing it a different way might not. And you'll find that. And you've seen people talk about that in several presentations, that there are opportunities. The problem is that people give up after the first one hit or the first 2 ways they phrase it, and I'll try it 3 or 4 ways. But also, my intuition on these things is going to be a little ahead of some people's. Because again, before TubeBuddy, my best guesses were usually good. That meant that my tool was just streamlining and elevating my intuition. And that's how you have to use it. If you don't have that background or that intuition, that's why these tools matter a lot more to you guys. Because again, I still got to, what was I at? I would think I was like at 80,000 before I was at 80,000 before I got TubeBuddy, or before I started using any SEO tools aside from Google and YouTube themselves. I was at like 80,000 because I was just trusting my own intuition. And I think that if I continue to do that without a tool, my baseline means that I probably would be at 120, 140,000 today instead of double that. But, which is where I'm at. The tool got me that much better. It sharpened me. It took me from an 80 to a 95. And that's how you have to think about it. But that's what my baseline was. But guess what? for all of you, regardless of what your baseline is, if you use the right tools, you can go from a 30 and then compete with me and be like an 80 or a 90. And that's the truth.
So how would you incorporate kind of what you talked about today with vlogging? Because like you can't really do that in like all one.
Oh, but you can. Oh, but you will.
So you mean like you can, because it's an everyday thing. So how
No,
can
it's
you do
not.
all day and, like,
No, it's not. You know who's a great example of that, but he's not daily? Swoozy. Swoozy vlogs, but he doesn't do the daily vlogging thing. Because again, all of you are still like, I think some of you watch too much Casey Neistat. You watch too much Casey Neistat because you think that you have to film everything in that day and put it out in that day or the day before or the thing. Like, you know what you can do for vlogging? What's an interesting story that happened to you last year?
I got married.
You got married. You know what? You could literally tell stories about what happened in the first year you were married, or things that like you wish you had known the first year you got, and that could be a vlog because it's the day that you're thinking of it and you're just reminiscing and you can literally tell an old story. All Swoozy does a lot of times is tell stories about a date he went on 3 months ago or what it was like when he worked at Disney several years ago, and that is vlogging. And you could do that, and you could do that, and you could batch produce some of those things, and then you can alternate that with day in the life and showing the actual life. But you can batch record things that are about just stories that you want to tell, and you can just do that. Because people care about people. That's why they watch vlogs. But every day, we're not doing something interesting. You know what we do every day? We tell stories to our friends and family about something, or we reminisce about, hey, you remember when Uncle Bob came over for Thanksgiving and everything like that, and he was totally sauced and it became a thing? You remember that? Like, or hey, do you remember that time that we went and we were like exploring the insane asylum and you swore up and down that like, you know, you saw ... Like, again, all people do is like a lot of you probably in the last 3 hours or whatever probably rehash something that happened yesterday or last week with somebody you were talking to. So again, with vlogging, you can figure it out. You can hack daily and you can streamline your process. And there's a way to do it. You just have to be creative. In the far back.
You just take one more. There is something now at 11. I just want to talk to Daryl. They have done whatever. Who cares? One more question and then we're going to be done.
One more question, and then besides that, just hit me up in the hall. We're going to take the one in the far back.
Roberto, thank you. Can you touch on meta tags and their order and description?
Order does not matter of your meta tags. That does not matter in a priority. If what you're asking is what's more important, title, descriptions, or tags, title, description, then tags. And that was such a short one that I'm going to take yours real quick, because that was just short. Yeah.
I forgot my question. I'll take. Can I move?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I remember.
Get me in the hall. Lost your
So,
Are you ready?